Are you ready, my pretty? Oh, yes, I'm feeling it. It's a Kyle Larson Daytona 500 pole video! Yes, indeed. You know I wasn't going to let that one slide. Kyle Larson has qualified on the pole position for the Daytona 500. The NASCAR champion, the driver who had so much hype behind him for good reasons and for bad reasons going into 2021, ultimately scored 10 wins, the championship, and now has started right off on the right foot going into the 2022 season. Now, all the drivers, especially the Hendrick Motorsports drivers, didn't take a whole lot of credit. Kyle Larson's one of the best race car drivers in the world, but ultimately, Daytona 500 qualifying, you're wide open the whole way around. This was a true Hendrick Motorsports pole position and really a front row with Alex Bowman as well, setting a record or tying a record. Did he set a record or tie a record? I don't know. Mike Joy made a big deal about it. Alex Bowman, one of the most prolific front row starters in the Daytona 500's history. He's looking to score a win eventually. Yeah, but the Hendrick Motors clearly way far and above everybody else. The unfortunate reality for them is that, unless the next-gen car race is totally different to what we've expected, or have come to expect in the last, 20, 25 years at the Daytona 500, I would not expect that you're going to really see Hendrick dominance like you have in qualifying. And it was also interesting to hear some talk about the duels potentially, and I guess we'll get into that later on in the video. So let's talk about that Fast Five first, and then we'll get into the open drivers who made the show. Here they are, and it's Kyle Larson on the pole position, and as you can see, we've got a little bike lock there, or a master lock, because he is locked into that position. He will start on the pole position. Alex Bowman, the other driver who locked in his starting position today, that's your front row, the 5 and the 48. Not really a surprise, to be honest with you, with the Hendrick dominance in qualifying. William Byron finally kind of knocked off of that front row. He had been a kind of perennial front row contender there for a little while, just off the pace of Larson and Bowman at 181 miles an hour. Eric Almirola was kind of the chicken in the hen house, so to speak. The only Ford and the only Stewart-Haas racing car even close to the Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolets, and he actually did leapfrog one of them, and that is Chase Elliott. But I would say, again, cars that are fast, maybe not so good in the race. So, hey, maybe Chase Elliott's got the most race-ready Hendrick Motorsports car. It was also interesting because I just made a video that almost 30,000 people have seen at the time of recording, talking about the skew and the fact they got rid of the skew, allegedly, because I saw at least one car, and that was Coleslaw Custard, otherwise known as Cole Custer, in the 41 Haas Automation car. Seemed to have quite a bit of skew still in his car, but he wasn't very fast, so it'll be interesting. And also, I'm interested to see how Tech goes. I know there was some trouble with Daniel Suarez actually getting through Tech to begin with, but ultimately he ended up getting a top 10 qualifying position, which again means nothing until the duels. Let's talk about the open cars first, because I really want to talk about the duels. But it was really important because Jacques Villeneuve will become the first driver who has won a Formula One World Championship prior to starting the Daytona 500. I think that was a stat from Jordan Bianchi of The Athletic. But yeah, Jacques finally will make the Daytona 500. He's tried before in 2008, but he's in the show this time, as well as Noah Gragson for the Beard Oil team. Again, Noah really probably should have made the race last year. He was very much fast enough, especially in his duel, got taken out through no fault of his own. So two great feel-good stories of the open cars locking their way in. And by the way, if I'm one of those open cars that has locked my way in, if I'm Jacques or I'm Noah, especially with Jacques because he did test, and I think that's an important key, by the way. Jacques tested. So to me, I think he knows what he is capable of doing in the pack. Pull that 27 car in, do a lap, park it. I would even park it if you're allowed to. I don't know what the rules are on starting and parking these days are. I wouldn't even go out for my duel if I was the 27 or the 62, honestly. I'd park it, save it for the race. Maybe you do some practice, but I wouldn't go out in the duels. Because, as we know, Joey Logano, he's going to go ham. He's going to go as hard, because he said that today in the media day. He doesn't care about parts. He doesn't care about next-gen cars. His opinion is that he is going to go as hard as he can, wreck some cars, tear some stuff up. He doesn't care. So if Logano's thinking that way, I'm sure there are other drivers thinking that way. And then you've got to think about the open guys trying to get in. Daytona 500, even though they don't publish the purse anymore, it's one of the biggest paydays in NASCAR. So for those teams that have just invested in a next-gen car, getting in this race is massively important. So is it worth tearing up your new investment? I guess we'll find out. But I think the duels potentially could be crazy, because one of the key quotes that I heard from Eric Almirola during this broadcast was right at the end where he said, I don't really know what this is going to do or what this is going to be like, because it seems like everybody's cars aren't handling very good. So as a pure racing fan, that makes my ears perk up a little bit, because if the Daytona 500 is a handling race, it'll be a lot more like it used to be, which to me is fine. And quite honestly, a 500-mile race should feel a little bit like an endurance race. So, drivers having to drive the cars, manage them, get them to the end, I'm all for that. Just having it be a demolition derby the entire time, I'm not a big fan of that. And we may well see that, by the way. I'm not saying that there's not a potential that this is just going to be an absolute disaster, particularly the duels. And then, again, you got to start thinking spare parts shortages, car shortages, what's going to happen there. Several teams only brought one car to the Daytona 500. Now, some of them, as reported by Bob Pockris a couple of days ago, have backup cars that they didn't bring to Daytona, but they're about 7 hours away in Charlotte, North Carolina. But, man, I'm surprised. That's going to be the touch-and-go thing when they get to the duels. It's going to be how many cars are going to crash, what's the damage going to be like. Again, if I'm smart and I don't really care about my starting position, especially if I'm in those open cars and I'm in, I'm parking them. If I'm in the front row, I might be parking them. Even though Kyle Larson, in his victory, I guess pole victory interview, said as much as, hey, we want to win the duel. So people are going to go try to win it, I guess, and far be it for me to tell them not to. It'll be entertaining. And I guess we'll spin off something while we're speaking about Kyle Larson. It is a Kyle Larson video. So, a lot of talk recently, and I talked about it 3 days ago, at when I was covering the IndyCar test at Sebring, is that it came out that Kyle Larson is not only willing to do the Indy 500, but Hendrick Motorsports and Jeff Gordon are absolutely willing to help him when the time comes that Kyle Larson runs the Indy 500. Now, it was reported today by Jenna Fryer that Larson is not going to do the Indy 500 this year. And it's logical, it's smart. It's too late. I even talked about how, it was Robin Miller's, and I suppose still is Robin Miller's dying wish to see Kyle Larson in a Penske car. And I said, well, okay, the big key to that would be looking at when Peretta Autosport, which was the kind of satellite Penske team, or really it was just the Penske team last year that was announced for the Indy 500, an extra Penske team for the Indy 500, that was announced in January. So any chance of an extra Penske car, that's already gone, because the window of opportunity for that is gone. And with it, really, the Indy 500, the cars that are still going to get announced, and that's one of the things that I need to talk about, because I got to speak to a few people at Sebring who are kind of on the outside looking in terms of driver team, sponsor combinations that are trying to get into the 500, the Indy 500. And, these are not teams that are going to go for the win. And Kyle Larson wants to win the Indy 500 if he's going to do it. And absolutely, I agree with him. You don't want to fill the field if you're the NASCAR Cup Series champion. You're already too good for that, and I understand that. So, I think this will be a story that continues to play itself out with Kyle Larson in the Indy 500. I would not be surprised one bit if we see it next year. And I think, especially now that it seems like Gordon's really, helping his drivers do other things and keeping them, their driving diverse, I think it's all good. And as for Kyle Larson's champion or chances in, you know, the next 500-mile race that he's competing in, which is the Daytona 500, as the pole sitter, you know, it's very tough to win the pole, or win, well, it's not so tough to win the pole perhaps if you're in a Hendrick car, but it seems like it's tough to win it if you're in the race. So, you know, I think Kyle Larson's going to have to use all of his skill to get there and stay there at the front. Because you look at guys like Logano and you look at guys like Hamlin and some others who are just so strong in these super speedways. And, of course, Michael McDowell, the defending winner, probably going to be, I don't want to say the defending winner's a dark horse, but I somehow think people have kind of forgotten that he won the race last year already. So, yeah, there's a lot of guys that Larson's going to have to fight off. And I guess it'll be an interesting storyline. Again, the duels are tomorrow. God, is it tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow's Thursday. So, yeah, the duels are tomorrow. We'll have videos on that. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube. Subscribe for more motorsport content, bathrobe, and Larson videos. We'll see you in the next video.